this is going to be the portion of the DVD where we actually learn how to warm up for handstands. All right, so before going on into any handstand, you want to make sure you're properly warmed up. Preceding the warm up, then you want to stretch. So I like to use this broomstick, and you can use any broomstick, even if it doesn't attach from the head. So what I like to do is just come a little bit wide, and then I just like to come back and forward. So maybe you inhale going back, and then exhale coming forward. So this is a great way to open up the shoulders for mobility, as well as warm the shoulders up. So we'll do a few more. All right. So now if you find that that's too much, or you don't have enough flexibility, then you can just come up and down, up and down, up and down. All right. And then over time, as you kind of go through this DVD, the warm up portion, you'll start to warm up a little bit more. All right. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the broomstick behind my back. All right. And then what I'm going to do is bring my feet hip distance apart, and then I'm just going to go right to left. All right, right to left. This is a good way to kind of warm the spine up. Right to left. So all you're doing is just kind of alerting and awakening the body, opening up the spine, opening up the lower back, the mid part of the back. And so if you're a little bit more advanced, maybe you kind of start off the way we did beginning the DVD, coming back here, and then maybe you can twist side to side as well. All right, so these are just different options just to kind of warm your body up. All right, so one more. Good. All righty. So from here, what we're going to do is we're going to start to warm the legs up a little bit more. All right, and so a great way to warm up the legs is just your basic lunges. All right, so you're going to bring your hands to your hips. All right, I'm going to bring my feet hip distance apart, and then I'm going to bring my left foot forward. All right, so the foot that comes forward, you want to make sure this knee stays in line with the ankle, and then you can kind of lower down and then up. So step back, bring the opposite one forward. There you go. And don't forget to breathe. So maybe you inhale going down, exhale coming up. And we'll do two more. All right, so you kind of feeling like you're warming up a little bit. Good. All right, so from this point, let's move on to kind of getting the hips open a little bit more. So kind of just warming them up, alerting them. And so what we're going to do, which is also a great drill to kind of learn balance. So as I always say, it's kind of difficult to learn how to balance upside down if you're not good balancing upright. So again, hands come to the hips, and let's just start off using the left foot to balance. So raising the right foot up, and we're just going to swing that leg around. So try to maintain balance all the way through. And don't forget to breathe. So maybe you inhale as you bring the leg up, exhale, bring it down. And one more. So same thing on the opposite side. You're gonna balance on your right foot. as you swing the left foot up and around. So again, and you'll quickly start to figure out which side is a little bit more balanced than the other. So if you find your imbalances, you want to focus on your weaknesses, which you'll figure it out. All right, so again, hands on the hips, we're going to swing that left leg around. All right, and so we're going to go and try not to let the foot touch the mat or the ground or surface, whatever you're on. Again, don't forget to breathe. All right, good. So bringing the feet hip distance apart again, we're gonna bring those hands to the hips, and with a nice flat back, we're gonna rotate down and around. So maybe you inhale as you go down and exhale as you come back up. So you want to keep that back nice and flat. So you don't want to be kind of slouching down. You want to keep that back nice and flat. This is also a great way to kind of open up those hamstrings a little bit more, as well as those hips. So stopping here and then swinging it around the opposite direction. So again, keeping that back nice and flat. All right, good. So now, as another option, you can use your stick. All right, so it's very important to warm up to prevent injury from occurring. All right, so now that's not saying that if you warm up every time, that means you'll never get an injury. That's not what I'm saying. But what it will do is wake your body up, you know, let it know, hey, we're gonna get a little bit physical today. So bear with me, wake up. You know, that's all it is. All right, so using our stick again. And we got the birds as our nice music here. So bringing your stick up here. All right, so you're gonna bring your hands shoulder distance apart. All right, so feet are hip distance apart, and then we're just gonna kind of bend side to side. Inhale and exhale. Try to keep the arms locked out. All right, and that's also a great way to strengthen the core as well, because you're hitting the core from a different angle, and then you have to control it as you go down, which you kind of feel the core, and then as you come back up, kind of releases, and then as you go to the opposite side, you're getting the same thing. All right, so now we're gonna place the stick down, and now we're just gonna kind of warm the shoulders up. So this is kind of what I do to warm my shoulders up. All right, so I take my right arm, then I'm just gonna kind of swing it around. This is a good way to open up those shoulders for a beginner, and also a great warm up for anybody. All right, so you're just swinging that arm around. Same thing, bringing your left arm up, swinging that arm around. All right, so if you find that it may be too much, maybe you have shoulder issues, maybe just bring the arm straight out like so. All right, otherwise, you want to kind of just swing that arm around to warm it up. Good. All right, from there, I like to come out. So I like to start by bringing my right hand over the left, bringing the hands out, and then left comes over the right. So back and forth. So shoulders are very important when it comes to warming up for handstands, as well as your legs, as well as your core, as well as pretty much everything, since you're going to use every ounce of your body when you're using or when you're entering your handstand and staying up. Good. All right. So you guys starting to feel a little bit warmed up. Good. Now there's a few more warm-up exercises I want to go through, and I'm going to kind of tell you why. So as you guys probably know by now, the reason why I got into yoga was because I ruptured my Achilles tendon. And so going through that entire process, I realized that many of us neglect our lower half of the body. All right. So this is a great warm-up you can do to warm up your lower half of your legs. So calves, ankles, shins, toes, all right, heels. So what we're going to do is start by raising the right foot up, and then we're just going to rotate that ankle around. All right. So you probably feel a little bit better if you didn't have shoes on. All right. You're just going to rotate it around clockwise. And if you neglect this area, or it could be a sneaky troublesome area for you, you may hear some cracking and popping. All right. So if you hear that, then you want to make sure you start to focus on that area a little bit more. All right. So we're switching to the left side. So left heel comes up. And you're going to rotate that ankle around. So this time you want to rotate this side counterclockwise. So you're going the opposite ways, but going, I guess you can say, the same direction for both legs. All right. So again, you may hear some cracking and popping. That's all right. It's good. You just loosening up that tightness, the stiffness you have in those areas that you tend to maybe neglect. All right. So good. Now, we're going to do a drill that's good for helping you lock out the arms, as well as warm up for your lockouts, as well as pointing the toes. All right, so we're going to bring the feet together, and again with our broomstick. And if you're a little bit more advanced, a great tool to use in place of a broomstick would be a 45-pound weight bar. All right, so it's your standard weight bar. So the weight bars are really good to practicing on locking those arms out, and you can do this same drill here if you find that you have a little bit more strength. So again, we start with the feet together. We're gonna bring the hands about shoulder distance apart. All right, and as I raise on my tippy toes, I'm gonna raise the arms up. So I'm on my tippy toes, and then I come back down. So as I'm raising the arms up, I lock the arms out. All right. So you want that broom to come directly above the head. So you want to point the toes, because we're going to be doing toe point when we're learning our handstand, and back down. So inhale up, exhale down. Inhale up, exhale down. Inhale up, try to keep that balance, exhale down. One more, inhale up, and exhale down. All right, guys, so this completes the first portion of the DVD, which is learning how to warm up for your handstands. All right, and so the next section is going to be warming up the wrists for your handstands, and we'll have some wrist strengthening drills on there as well. All right, thank you. All right, guys, so this is a portion of the DVD where we learn how to warm up and stretch the wrist for handstands. All right, and so just keep in mind, we'll get into strengthening your wrists and forearms in the next section of this DVD. All right, so again, we're gonna start off with our broomstick. All right, so your broomstick, so you wanna bring your hand to the edge of the broomstick and you wanna get a nice comfortable grip. All right, and so basically what we're gonna do is just kind of rotate that broomstick. All right, so you wanna try to make sure you use more wrist than arm. All right, more wrist than arm. Just a simple way to kind of warm those wrists up. More wrist than arm. All right, more wrist than arm. Good. Do about 5 more. More wrist than arm. Wrist. All right. So we're gonna do the same thing on the opposite side. So it may feel a little bit funny if you're not left-handed, or maybe it may feel a little bit funny if you use your right hand, depending on if you're left-handed. So same thing, more wrist than arm. All right, more wrist than arm. This is a great way to warm those wrists up. More wrist than arm. So once you find a nice groove, just keep going. If you mess up, that's fine. If you find that you're a little bit shorter, maybe you stand up on a bench or a chair to make sure you're getting that wrist warm. All right. So, so we're gonna place the broomstick down. All right. And so now we're gonna get into a little bit of stretching the wrist. All right. So you're gonna bring your left hand up, and so the right hand is gonna come into the left hand. So my right fingertips are gonna come to the center of the left. All right. And so basically what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use my left hand to bring the right hand over. All right. So all this is doing is kind of stretching up, still kind of warming the wrist up a little bit. All right. And so now we're going to release it here. All right. So same thing now. We're going to bring the right hand forward, and then you're going to bring the fingertips of the left into the palm, and then you're going to use your right hand to bring that left hand over. Good. You want to make sure you're breathing throughout this process as well. So you don't want to hold your breath. You want to focus on breathing. All right. And so we just release it here. All right. So we're still just kind of warming it up. So now we come back to the broomstick. All right. So again, if maybe you find that the stick was too long, maybe you bring the hands up a few inches, or again, like I said, maybe you stand up some to get your full potential. So now we're going to go the opposite direction. All right, so before we came backwards, now we're going to come forward. Yep, so you want to come forward this time. Try to use more wrist and arm. So more wrist and arm. Wrist, wrist, wrist. Good. All wrist, baby, all in the wrist, baby. There you go. 5 more. There you go. Good. So same thing on the opposite side. And last time, again, we came backwards, and now we're gonna come forward. All right. So more wrist than arm. More wrist than arm. All right. More wrist than arm. More wrist than arm. Wrist and arm. There you go. Good. All right. So now we're going to come down to the mat here. And what we're going to do is we're going to come into a tabletop position. And what we're going to do is flip the hands to reverse. All right. So you want a nice, comfortable posture here. You want to raise the head up. You want to keep those arms locked out. All right. And you just want to breathe here. All right. So you want to raise the hips up through the spine. Look forward, and then you want to breathe here. and then we're gonna release. All right. So we take a quick break here, and we'll do the same thing again. So again, flipping those hands to your reverse. Raise the hips through the spine, look in the head. So if you find that you're really flexible, maybe you bring both feet ahead and you hold it in a plank like so. If that's too much, then you come back to your knees and then raising the hips through the spine, looking forward, and you want to make sure you breathe here. And now this is also a good way to open the shoulders too. All right. So again, we flip the hands to reverse. I'm going to take a quick breather here, and then we'll proceed shortly. Shortly is now. So one last time. Flip the hands to reverse. You want to raise the hips through the spine. Looking forward, arms are locked out, and you want to breathe. All right, again, if you're really flexible, maybe you come into a plank. So you want to keep that core nice and tight. You want to keep the stress off of the elbows. See how I'm on my tippy toes here? You want to just relax them. That way you get that full stretch through those wrists. Again, if that's too much, we're here, raising the hips through the spine, looking forward, and release. All right. And so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna counter stretch those wrists. All right. And so how do we do that? So basically, we're just gonna bring our hands shoulder distance apart. All right. And then we're gonna come the opposite direction. All right. So you're bringing those hands in this time. Yep. So you're stretching here. Keep the arms locked out. Raising the hips through the spine, looking forward. So this should feel really good on those shoulders as well. So what's amazing what a simple hand replacement can do to further your stretch. Again, so bringing the hands back. All right. And now we're gonna, again, bring them to the inside this time. Lock those arms out. All right. So I'm not really gonna recommend that you straighten the legs out here. You know, if you find that it works for you, then maybe you can stretch your legs out, but I wouldn't really recommend it. All right, it's a different type of beast when it comes to putting stress on the shoulders. All right, so flipping them around, taking a break. All right, and one last time, flip those hands inside to the inside. Straighten the arms out, raise the hips through the spine, looking forward, and then you want to make sure you're breathing here. And release it here. All right, guys, so this is basically how I warm up the wrists and stretch them out. There's not a ton of wrist stretches that are actually, I guess I can say healthy for you. So if you stick to these will work wonders for you. All right. So this completes the warming up the wrist as well as stretching the wrist portion of the DVD. And now we can move on to actually strengthening the wrist in the next section. Thank you. So this portion of the DVD is going to be how you strengthen your wrists and forearms. So many of you say that you're finding it hard to progress with handstands because your wrists and forearms are not strong enough. So number one, we have a section on this DVD to where you can actually learn how to stretch your wrist and which is also in that forearm area. So I feel that a lot of your issues is that your wrist flexible enough. But if you really know that your wrist and forearms are weak, here's some exercises you can do. All right. And so you can actually use a broomstick, but I like to use a weight bar because, of course, it withholds much more weight than a broomstick does. So if you're a total beginner and you have really, really weak wrists, then maybe you start off with the broomstick, and then work your way up to using this bar here. All right. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab the bar. All right. And so I'm going to flip it so that my hands are facing outside, and then I'm gonna relax the fingers and then roll it up. There you go. So that's 10 there. All right. And so when you're done with that 10, then you can move on to your reverse grip. So your reverse grip is similar. So I'll come a little bit closer so you can see. I'm relaxing the fingers here, and then I'll curl it up. Alright, and basically what you can do is, 3 sets of 10 to 15 reps, maybe every other day, and then you can kind of switch it up. Alright, so maybe one day you do front, and then the next day you may go backwards. And as you get a little bit stronger in that area, what you can do is you can do it with one hand at a time. So if I start here, I let my fingers relax, all right? And then I just curl it up, fingertips on. All right? And so maybe you do as half as many reps on that side, and the same thing on the opposite side. So letting the fingers relax. All right, so fingers are relaxed, and then I just curl it up. All right, and so this is how you kind of progress. Now, to hit the forearm and wrist from a different angle, you can actually, I'm gonna put this up one notch. So if you go to your local park, and they may have an area where you can do fitness. So you'll see pull-up bars, dip bars, or what we call parallelope bars. And basically, a lot of these parks have a low bar. It's like a pull-up bar, but it's very low. All right, and so this is what you can do. So same concept, all right? So you're gonna allow the fingers to relax. You hold yourself straight up, and then you curl the wrist there. So you relax here, and then curl it up. Relax here, curl it up. Relax here, curl it up. All right? And so, again, that hits it from a different angle. And so you want to make sure that you're really squeezing when you're coming back up. All right? So you want to make sure you squeeze to get the maximum amount of work being done to strengthen your wrists and forearms. So another thing you can do is you can flip the grip here. Now I would recommend that you actually use your weight bar at your local gym. It's probably, I think you get more out of it with something that can rotate versus something that's just stationary. Now some of you may not agree with me, but that's just my personal opinion. So we'll do the same thing, reversing the grip here. All right, so we were doing over grip, now we're gonna do under grip. So same thing, I'm gonna relax the fingers here, and then I'm gonna curl my way up. So I'm using wrist and forearm only. Wrist and forearm only. One more. Alright, so we've gone through a nice amount, and now it's time to kind of get a little bit more advanced. Alright, so the last one, we'll actually do a few more. So the next one is just a dead hang hold. Alright, so your dead hang hold, you'll use a pull-up bar. And all you're going to do is you're going to get a nice grip, so shoulder distance apart. You're going to allow yourself to just to hang and raise the feet up. All right? And so you're going to hold this. You're going to hold it for 30 seconds. All right? And then once you're done with that 30 seconds, take a 30-second break and then go at it again. Now, what I would recommend is, if 30 seconds is too long, then maybe you do 15 seconds. My recommendation is, however long you hold yourself is the amount of time that you rest. All right, so if you hold yourself for a short amount of time, then you want to keep going to build that endurance up. So let's say you hold it for 10 seconds. All right, fine. Now take a 10-second break. And hold yourself for 10 seconds. So if you hold it for 1 minute, then you take a 1 minute break and then you do it again. So my philosophy is, a lot of people say do, 3 sets, which is fine to start off with, but you want to work up to doing 5 to 10 sets. All right, that should be your ultimate goal. Now, if you have a bar that's pretty high, then all you have to do is just let your body hang straight across. All right, well, straight up and down, I should say. So the next one is similar to what we did earlier, and it makes it a little bit tougher because you're having to use your entire body to squeeze up. So, I'm sorry, you're squeezing up your entire body is what I'm trying to say. All right, so we want to start with the dead hang here. So notice that I'm at the fingertips here, and now my objective is I'm going to have to squeeze up and then back down. All right, so I'm going to hang here, and then I'm going to squeeze up. Full grip there, release it back down. Squeeze up, right back down. Squeeze up. All right, and then you can do the same thing. You can flip your grip. All right, so the next exercise you can do is, a lot of people think it's crazy, but it's really not that bad once you start to get used to it. Now, what this basically will do is mentally, it's gonna hit your mental psyche. So this is gonna prepare you to be able to hold yourself up and, kind of get used to that pressure that's applied to those wrists and forearms. All right. And so you've probably seen these before. All right. So if you're a total beginner, we're gonna start in tabletop. And a beginner, this is what I want you to do. I want you to bring your fingers to the tips Starting in tabletop, I want you to raise those feet up, and then I want you to just shift forward. So keep the arms straight and shift forward. There you go. Shift forward. There you go. Shift forward. There you go. So, as a beginner, you want to go as long as you can go, and then maybe take a 1-minute break and repeat the same thing 4 more times. Alright? So, you want to make sure you're doing this, I say every other day, if you really want to work on getting that mental toughness and strength in those fingers, wrists, forearms. Step number 2. You're going to come to the forearm, the fingertips here. You're just going to raise up, come back down. 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 That's step number 2. Step number 3. Fingertips, you're going to come straight across in a plank, and you're just going to hold it here. Alright? So you're just going to hold it maybe as long as you can. Maybe you get a stopwatch, and with this stopwatch, maybe you time yourself as long as you can go. Once you have that time, your next 4 rounds, maybe you try to beat that time the first time you got. All right, so that's a great way to maximize and build up your strength as well. So step number 4 is you're going to do push-ups. All right, so we're on the fingertips here. You're going to go down, up, down, up, down, up. Alright? So maybe you do 5 sets of 10, or you guys kind of come up and be creative with it. Alright? So we'll move on to another one that's good for the pressure and building mental toughness, as well as actually strengthening the wrist in a different capacity. So a lot of you guys have seen this. So this is what we're going to do. So if you're a beginner, I want you to start in tabletop. And what you're going to do is flip the wrist. Alright? I want you to straighten those arms out, raise the hips through the spine, and then you'll hold it here. So maybe you hold it for 30 seconds, maybe you hold it for a minute, and then you'll release. Alright? And so then maybe you repeat that 5 more times. Alright? So step number 2, alright, you want to flip the hands. Alright? And what you're going to do is you're going to bring one leg up, and then you're going to bring one opposite hand up. Alright? And then you raise up like so. Alright? And then you flip one hand here, and then you come to the other side, flip it there. You want to go back and forth. Back and forth. Back and forth. Alright? So maybe you do that for 30 seconds or 45 seconds. Whatever you feel comfortable with, you come up with your own routine for this, because this is not something to where we can just do a video and say, all right, everybody hold it for 1 minute. This type of stuff does not happen like that. It's a process. You know, now if we were doing core, that's an entirely different story. You know, I can test you and I can push you as far as I feel like you can go. But this is a little bit different, you know. It's something you're gonna have to spend time with yourself. Step number 3 is you're holding that same posture, but you're gonna hold it in plank. So both hands will be up this time. So you're up, and you're just gonna hold it. And maybe you work up to, you hold it up to maybe, maybe 30 seconds. That's good. Step number 4, same thing, but we want to do push-ups. All right. So this is kind of one of those ultimate things. All right. So make sure when you're doing this, you use a mat or something that's soft on the bottom, maybe carpet or kind of be creative. But myself, I've worked up to being able to do it, on concrete, wood, and all other tough surfaces. All right. So the last one, I'm gonna flip those hands straight across, and we'll hit the push-ups. All right. So 1, 2, 3. And again, you kind of come up with your own routine based on what you can do. All right. And so this completes this particular segment of the DVD. I hope you guys have something that you can apply. Thank you. All right, so now that you've warmed your body, you've warmed your wrists up, it's now time to talk about hand placement, alignment, as well as breathing. So as you all know, the most important aspect of any exercise is breathing, and handstand is actually an exercise, believe it or not. All right, and so basically what we're gonna do is just one simple drill, just to kind of have you aware of your breathing. Now keep in mind, as you're starting, it's going to be very difficult to remember to breathe, but the better you get, the more you'll be able to apply your breathing technique throughout your handstand practice. So now, what I'm going to have you do is just bring your feet hip distance apart. All right, so I want you to just bring your hands to your rib cage. All right, so basically what I want you to do is inhale through the nose. So inhale and then exhale. Inhale, exhale. All right. So now that you have breathed on your own, now let's dissect the breathing. All right. So what you want to do is when you're breathing, you want to fill the lungs up all the way when you inhale, and then when you exhale, you want to release all of the air out. All right. So let's try it again. So hands come to the rib cage again, and so slow and controlled. I want you to inhale and exhale. Inhale, exhale. Inhale and exhale. All right, so notice as you inhale, you fill the lungs up, you'll feel the stomach expand. When you exhale and release all the air out, you feel the lungs deflate. All right, and so practice that. You can spend some time just focusing on your breathing, even if you're not good with handstands yet, because once you find the balance, you'll get very tired if you did not apply proper breathing to your handstand. All right, so now we're gonna move on to your hand placement. All right, so we're gonna start in the tabletop position. I'm gonna turn this way just so you can see my alignment here. All right, so I'm again raising my hips through the spine. I'm looking forward. So now I turn this way, and you can see that my hands are shoulder distance apart. All right, and so with my fingers, I kind of slide them back. This way, I'm able to get a little bit of air underneath. So as you can see, I can slide my finger underneath here. I can slide them underneath here. Now what that does is it enables you to actually grip the surface that you're going to be balancing on. All right, so I'm here. I have my hands shoulder distance apart, and then when I go into a handstand, I make sure that my arms remain locked out. All right, so I'm gonna move ahead just a little second, and then we'll come back. So notice as I kick up, my arms are gonna lock out. All right, so hands up, and then I'm gonna lock the shoulders out. And I'm applying the same breathing technique as we just practiced. All right. So that's the alignment that you want to have, and you can just practice that. All right. Now keep in mind that it may take a little bit of time before you learn how to lock the arms all the way out after you've learned how to balance yourself. Okay? So just be patient with it. It's not going to happen overnight. All right. So, the importance of actually locking the arms out is going to save you energy in the end. So if you find that you have a slight bend throughout the arms, you're going to use more energy. You're going to use more stress on the elbow, the wrist, and the shoulders. All right. So the more that you have the arms locked out, which doesn't mean that you force, once you're up, just lock the arms out. You don't have to do any extra straining or anything extra. All right, just a simple lockout. All right. Now, some of you may say, well, once I'm up, how should my feet be? So once you're up, you want to make sure you point the toes. And now on the first portion of the DVD, when we warmed up, worked on a little bit of toe pointing. And so a good way, again, to work on your toe points is to bring the feet together. All right. And so applying this technique, being upright, is really good for understanding the concept when you're upside down. So just start with me. So bring your feet together. All right. And so what I'm going to do is raise my arms straight up. All right. So my hands are shoulder distance apart. And notice how straight my line is. All right. And so what I'm going to do is raise to the tippy toes and find some balance here. All right. So notice how I keep the arms locked out and I keep my core nice and tight. So you have to engage your core in order to hold your handstand. Now you may see b-boys and other guys that have been doing handstands for a while do all type of crazy things, but their bodies understand, their mind and bodies understand the concept of actually balancing themselves. So again, I'm going to turn to the side so you can see. All right. So my feet are together. All right. So make sure your posture, you're nicely aligned. And then I'm going to bring those arms straight up. Arms locked out. All right. And then I'm going to raise to the tippy toes. All right. And then bringing it back down. All right. So notice at no point that I was slouching back or coming too far forward. Now remember, you're gonna kind of have to hollow your body. So what's a hollow body? A hollow body looks like so. So again, we're gonna work on hollowing the body. All right. So hollowing the body means you kind of bring the shoulders in and then up, and you're gonna lock those arms out. So raising to the tippy toes. All right. So hollow body means pretty much you're keeping those arms nice and locked out. All right. So you're not open here. You're nice and hollow. So you hollow the body. All right. And so a lot of you will say, all right, well, I have issues with the banana back. All right. So to get away from the banana back, you want to work on a tucked handstand, and we'll get into that later on in the DVD. All right. So keeping that alignment of getting away from your banana back, you want to apply the actual tucked handstand. What the tucked handstand does is it builds the core strength inside of you, and it gives you the awareness of learning how to keep your weight from going behind you. So it'll keep it in front of you, and then as you get better and better, you'll be able to raise those legs up and straighten them out for a straight handstand, which will take you away from actually being in your banana back. All right. And so this portion of the DVD kind of talks about your alignment, your breathing, and your hand placement. And also remember, you want to keep those fingers nice and spread. All right. So we talked about this before. You have space here. You don't want your fingers to be together. All right. You want to create some distance in between the hands, and that way you can have an actual grip on the surface that you're practicing your handstand on. All right. So you want to apply all of those concepts we talked about. So kind of running it down, the breathing, you want to make sure you breathe properly, which it will take some time. Be patient with it. Hand placement, make sure your fingers are nice and spread. Create a little bit of space underneath, and the spread fingers and the space underneath will give you that grip you need to hold your handstand. All right, you want to keep those arms locked out. All right, so again, if your arms are not locked out, you're using way too much energy. All right, you want to simplify things, make things simple for you. You don't want to extract extra energy practicing your handstand. And then you want to make sure that you keep that alignment, and remember the concept. And you want to make sure you practice this of coming up, holding yourself on your tippy toes, and bringing your arms up with the arms locked out. All right. So this concept being upright, you want to apply those same principles of being upside down. So practice this. And the last thing is keeping the toes pointed. So you want to make sure you keep the toes pointed. You want to keep those toes activated. All right. And so we'll get deep into it as we go throughout the DVD. All right. So we're on to the next portion of the DVD. And again, thank you. All right, so now we're going to talk about the prereqs when it comes to handstands. All right, so what do I recommend that you do before actually even attempting a handstand? All right, so it's very important that you have a very solid headstand, and then you have a solid crow. And so those are the two poses that we're going to work on right now. All right. And so ultimately you want to lead on to having a straight arm crow, or we call it a crane pose. in yoga. And so we're gonna work on that. So the first thing we're gonna do for a total complete beginner, all right. And I'm not really big on using a wall, so a wall cannot really help you balance yourself, all right. So when you're using a wall, you kick up, then you kind of inching the feet on and off, inching the feet on and off. All right, so that's good. You finally find how to balance yourself, but then guess what? There's one thing, you can't enter into a handstand. All right, so there's two components. There's entering a handstand, and then there's actually holding the handstand. And so the wall can kind of hinder you, and I feel like, it can take away from your progress from using the wall. Another negative aspect of using a wall is you can come very dependent on the wall. All right, so that kind of goes hand in hand with what I was just saying. So you don't want to become very dependent on the wall, because again, you'll be wasting a lot of time that you could have used to progress onto a freehanded handstand. All right, now there's nothing wrong with however you want to progress or whatever you feel is great progress for you. But for me, I like to push people. I like to get the most out of you with the least amount of time. I don't know if that sounds good to you. Does it sound good to you? All right, thank you. Now, I've noticed that there's a lot of people that have been working on the handstand for 10 years. All right, which is fine. Maybe you don't want to, handstand without the free handstand, without the wall. So we have to come away from the wall, guys. We have to. Even if you can't do a headstand, we're gonna learn that right now, without the wall. So a headstand. This is the easiest way for majority of people to learn a headstand without the wall. All right, and so if you need a spotter, make sure you have a spot. So applying what we've learned, you want those fingers nice and spread. You want to create a little bit of space here. So we're gonna start in this tabletop. All right, so we're gonna drop the head. All right, so we're not gonna just drop the head here. Why? Because if my head is in line with my fingers, then once I go up, I'm not gonna maintain any balance. All right, so what we're gonna do is start in tabletop, and then we're gonna shift forward a few inches. All right, and then we're gonna drop the head here. So when I drop the head, I'm gonna be on the top of my head. All right, so on top of the head here, raise the knees up. I'm gonna walk the feet forward. So notice how my hips are stacked. I bring one knee here, one knee here. Then you can hold it here. Now remember to apply the breathing principles that we learned earlier in the DVD. All right? And so, you'll slowly come out of it like so. All right? Now, what if you go into your headstand and you fall? All right, so when you're falling, it's just a simple roll. You're gonna roll out of it. All right, you're not gonna just allow your body to tumble over and you just fall, bam, flat on your back. You don't want to do that. I've done that for you 4.5 years ago, plenty of times. All right, so let's try it again. And if I fall out, then I'm gonna roll out. So watch. Oh, I'm feeling like I'm falling. So I draw my chin in towards the chest, and then I roll out. All right. So you wanna draw the chin in towards the chest, and then you can roll out of it. All right. So now, we're going to expand on the beginning part. All right, so we're going to expand on the beginning part, and then we'll get into different entries into a headstand. All right, but this is very, very beginner. right, so I'm here. Again, I shift forward. I drop my head so that I'm on the top of my head. I'm not on the front of my head or the back of my head. I'm on the top of my head. So shift forward, and then I drop the head, raise up. So walk the feet up, hips are stacked. One knee here, one there. You bring the feet together. Now as you get good, you can use your core to raise the legs straight up, and you want to point the toes and breathe. All right. So that's how you want to build up to it. All right. And we have some core training in this DVD as well to help you get the core strength you need. So now, having all of that said, we're going to move on to different entries into an actual headstand. All right. So a lot of you power guys usually like to go with this method. So, you know, you like to start here, kind of in a crow, and then you just drop the head and then raise up. All right. So that's entry number 2. Entry number 3. And you can kind of add this on as you get a little bit better and better. So entry number 3 is a fun one. And it's also a good way to know when you're progressing pretty good with learning how to actually use your core. So entry number 3. All right, so we're gonna start in a spread leg forward fold. So again, hands are shoulder distance apart. I'm gonna raise to my tippy toes here. Then I'm gonna drop my head. All right, and I'm gonna walk the feet up so that my hips are stacked. And then I'm gonna use my core to raise the lower half up. And breathe here. All right. So what am I actually using to raise my legs up? I'm using the core. All right. So you want to keep that core nice and tight. You want to raise the legs up through the core. So you want to use the concept of raising your hips. All right. So those are the 3 entries into an actual headstand. All right. So now we're going to move on to the crow. The crow is very difficult for many. All right. And so a lot of you may be saying, well, what is the crow? This is the crow. So I'll start with my feet hip distance apart. All right. And so I'm just going to slightly bend my knees here. So I'm going to bring my hands about a foot in front of me. If you find that you're a little bit longer, maybe you have to come further, maybe a foot and a half, maybe even 2 feet forward if you're maybe 6'6" or 7 feet tall. So remember the concept of how your hands have to be nice and spread. All right, so you're gonna raise to the tippy toes, and then you're gonna bend your arms as you bend the knees coming forward. All right, so we'll just start at this point here. Now you've made contact. You see how my knees are on the triceps. All right, that's where you want to rest the knees, on the triceps, not the elbow. Now we'll get into an even easier entry for some of you that'll have a tough time with this. Well, we'll have to kind of use the elbow, but it'll be all right. All right, so your crow here, raising to the tippy toes, and then knees are rested on the tricep. So maybe I get one leg up. Maybe you just hold it here, bring it down. Hold it here, bring it down. But the concept is you want to lean forward and then bring the feet together. All right, so that's the crow. So again, what if you lose balance? You lose balance, you're just gonna roll out of it. So how do you roll? You're gonna draw the chin in towards the chest, and then you're just gonna roll out of it. So watch. I go into my crow, I discover I'm losing balance going forward, and I just roll out of it like so. All right. And you want to practice your exiting if you feel like you're losing balance. All right. So tuck the chin in towards the chest, and then you roll out of it. All right. So crow, let's say, you know what? I'm having a tough time with crow. What can I do to kind of learn how to balance myself? Here's a good drill you can do. So we'll start at the edge of the mat. Again, we're gonna start here, raise to the tippy toes, and then just kind of inch the feet up, inch the fingers up along the mat. Here, inch the fingers up the mat. Here, inch the fingers up the mat. Here. All right. So these are called crow walks. Now over time, you'll build your strength up, and then you'll be doing your crow. All right. So I recommend starting at the edge of your mat, slowly coming up, turn around, come back. So you want to do it 5 times, back and forth with no break. All right. So then once you've done it 5 times, take a 1-minute break, and then do it 5 times, back and forth again. All right. So you want to complete that cycle until you've done it 5 times. All right. So this is how you build the strength for the crow, and this is how you learn how to actually balance yourself with crow. All right. And as time goes on, you want to try to hold it a little bit longer as you're doing your crow walks. All right. So once you discover, all right, pretty good with the crow, now I'm ready to move on to the crane. Now the reason why crane is so important is because I feel like it's a good step before actually moving on to your handstand. Now why? The reason why is because this is one of the first things you can do with straight arms, with your hips raising up before you actually are in a handstand. All right. Now this doesn't mean you can't practice any handstands at all. This entire portion of the video, but these are the prereqs that you need to work on, and you need to master them before you actually really get serious with handstands. So crane. All right. So same concept as your handstand. I'm sorry, as your crow. All right. So hands are shoulder distance apart always. Fingers are always spread. You're gonna raise up, and so you want to create the illusion that you're bringing your knees into the armpits. All right. Now I'm about 170 pounds, and most of my weight is in my legs. So, you know, I kind of have a hard time bringing my knees all the way in, but that's all right though. You'll get the point. All right. So we're gonna start here. You're gonna raise to the tippy toes. Knees are into the armpit, and then you're gonna come up with straight arms. All right. Another reason why this is very important is because you're building a straight arm strength, and you're building the core strength that you need to sustain a very good handstand. All right, you're learning how to breathe. All right, like I said, you're building the strength, and it's a good prereq to work on before seriously working on handstands. All right. So this completes this portion of the DVD. These are the prereqs you need for the actual handstand. And then once you're able to hold yourself up in crow, you pretty much can hold yourself up in a handstand. All right. So this completes that portion of the DVD, and signing off. All right, so now you may be asking, well, you talked about the headstand, you talked about the crow. How long should I work on holding these poses before I really should move on to handstands? I would recommend building up to holding your crow for 30 seconds. All right. So once you're able to hold it for 30 seconds, then you pretty much have the strength for holding a handstand. Now, how long should you hold your headstand? I'd work on holding it for 45 seconds, and I'm going to tell you why. Number one, you have to learn how to breathe upside down. A headstand is very essential to learning how to breathe while upside down. Number two, you're gonna have to learn. Your body's gonna have to adapt to the blood rushing down to your head. So this is why these two poses are very key to moving on and progressing on to the next step. All right. Going to be the portion of the DVD where we start to kind of crank it up a little bit. So it's very important that you know how to fall when it comes to handstands. All right, and so basically there are two exits that you can use. So number one, there's the back bend, and then number two, we kind of covered it before, you have your somersault roll. All right, so we'll cover the somersault roll first. All right, so your somersault roll, you want to make sure that you're drawing the chin in towards the chest. So we're going to start by just standing up. All right, and so we're going to bend down, and then we're going to draw the chin in towards the chest, and then roll out of it. All right, so again, coming down, drawing the chin in towards the chest, roll out of it. All right, so now I want you to try it with me. So we're gonna practice the roll. We're gonna do it 5 times. So I'm gonna start at the edge of the mat here, roll, come back up, and kind of continue because I don't want to get too dizzy. All right, so let's do it 5 times. All right, so we're gonna start here. Let's just start with the feet together. All right, so feet together, hands come up. All right, then we're gonna bend the knees, draw the chin in towards the chest, and then we're gonna roll. All right, so I'm gonna come back. That's one. We'll do it again. So started in our handstand position, hands come up, arms locked out, bending the knees, drawing the chin in towards the chest, and roll. All right. So 3 more times. Feet together, hands come up and down, chin in towards the chest, roll up. All right, let's do it again. So hands come up, bending the knees, chin in towards the chest, roll up. Let's do it one more time. Feet together, hands come up above the head, chin in towards the chest. As you bend the knees, roll up. So that's exit strategy number 1. Go up for my handstand. I find that I'm losing balance. What do? One strategy is you roll out of it in a somersault. Exit strategy number 2 is your back bend. All right. So let's say you go up, and I like to exit in the back bend because I'm flexible and I feel more comfortable doing it that way. All right. So I wouldn't recommend using this strategy if you don't have a pretty good back bend, or we call it wheel in yoga. So again, let's say we go up and up, I'm losing balance. We'll try it. All right, so I go up, I find that I lose balance, and I drop the feet down into my back bend. All right, so we'll do it a couple more times. All right, so when I'm falling into an actual back bend, I'm gonna drop my foot down that I find more comfort first, lightly, and then I bring the second one down. Now, I know it probably sounded a little bit loud. Maybe it's some superpowers or something, I don't know. I'm just kind of joking with you guys. But so, we go up. All right, so we're gonna go up, and then one foot at a time. And then you come back up. We'll do it again. So we go up. Oh, sorry. So we go up, one foot at a time. And then up. All right. So those are the 3 strategies. Now let's talk about going into some actual handstand drills, and the exits are an actual drill. All right. Now, the first drill that you want to work on, and these drills are to help you find comfort away from the wall. Remember, we're not gonna use the wall much in this DVD. We'll use it for some strength building, which is that's what it's for. It's for building strength. It's not for learning balance. Now, drill number 1 is your basic cartwheel. All right. We've all done it when we were kids. You know, for some of you it may have been 20, 30 years. So you want to make sure you stretch and warm up very good before you go into a cartwheel. If you know your body has some cobwebs on it, I don't know. All right, we're going to practice some cartwheels. All right, so I'm very comfortable with my lead leg and hand, which are the right. All right, so I'm bringing my lead leg in front. All right, and so I'm gonna bring my arms up. All right, and I'm gonna bring them out. All right, and so I'm gonna bring my right hand down as I bend the right leg. All right, and then kick off that right leg. All right, so try it with me again. So lead leg in front for me is my right leg. The leg is straight for now. The hands come up, open the shoulders, and now I'm gonna bring the arms up. All right, so hands come up. I'm gonna bend my right knee as I bring the right hand down. All right, now use that same side to kick off. All right, so my lead leg is the kickoff leg. All right, so again here, arms come out, bring the hands up slightly, and then bend and kick. All right, so now we're gonna do the opposite side. All right, opposite side. Now, if you have a nice big area that you can use, you wanna go back to back, and we'll kind of get into that in just a second. So, we're gonna go to the opposite side now. My lead leg is the left on this side. So hands are gonna come out, arms come up slightly, bend my left leg as I bring the left hand down. All right, and over. Let's try it again. Left leg in front, out, up, bend, over. Let's try it again. Left leg out, hands out, up, over, bend. All right. Now, what was the point of this? gonna explain it to you. So the point of that was you're learning how to enter into a handstand without using the wall. All right. So if you don't have the strength right now, don't worry about it. You're gonna bend the strength. All right. Now, how does this apply to an actual handstand? Now we're gonna slow it down. So the slower you use your cartwheel, the more that you're gonna find a little bit more hang time. All right. So let's try it again. So we're starting here. We're gonna try to find a little hang time. All right. So here, arms up, bend, and try to find a little bit of hang time. All right. Try to find some hang time. Hang time. That's what it's all about. You're handstanding without the wall. Again, let's find a little bit more hang time. So here, arms come up. Hang time. So you want to try to hold it. All right. Hang time. Try to keep those arms locked out. Here, hands come up. Hang time. All right. So that's what it's all about. That's all the cartwheel is about, is finding the hang time. All right. So you got your basic cartwheel down. You're slowing it down. You're building the core strength. You're building the upper body strength. You're not using the wall. All right. So now we're going to do the opposite leg as a lead leg. All right. Now, why should you practice going both sides? Because you have to be balanced on both sides. You know, when you're in a handstand, you have to find balance. You may have to find the balance by rocking side to side. So why not go, you know, with the opposite side that you're not comfortable with? All right. So I'm gonna do my left leg as a lead leg this time. All right. So I'm starting here. Get your posture, arms up. Find the hang time. All right. Try it again. Hands come up. Find the hang time. All right. That's all you want to do is find some hang time. Hands come up, bend your knee. Find some hang time. Let's do it again. Hang time is what we're looking for. Find some hang time. All right, let's do it again. You guys feeling a little bit comfortable now? All right, see how simple that is? All right. So the next drill, we want to start to dive a little bit deeper in it. All right. So this concept actually comes from yoga poses, Warrior 3. All right. So Warrior 3, you're gonna actually balance on. Let's just pick a leg. So I like to kick off my left leg, so we'll start with the left leg, or maybe you like the right leg. So Warrior 3, I just want you to see the concept of where this is coming from. So this is Warrior 3 here, all right? So your arms come up, you hold it right there. Now what we're gonna do is transition from Warrior 3 to a handstand, and then we're gonna kick up and switch sides, all right? So this is what it looks like. You don't have to stretch your leg up all the way. That's just kind of to understand the concept. So if I start here, my hands are out. So here, hands are out. And do this with me. Hands are out. We'll do it 3 more times. Hands are out, legs up. Hands are out. There you go. Hands are out. One more. Hands are out. Now, we're gonna add the next step. So you're gonna bring the hands up above the head. So you want your hands wet, shoulder distance apart. So hands come up, hands are out. You're gonna hollow the body, and then you're gonna kick up, and then switch legs. All right, so now you're balancing on your right leg this time, Warrior 3. Now you're gonna kick up, switch legs. right here, kick up, switch side. Now you're here, kick up, switch side. Now you're here. Now what's the point of that? We're learning how to use our bodies without what? The wall. So we're going to do that again, and we're going to slow it down a little bit more. You see how you don't have to always use the wall? Even if you're going fast, guess what? You're learning how to use your body without the wall. It doesn't matter. All right? So again, we start here. So I'm sorry, hands come up. All right? Nice and straight. Hollow the body here. Bring the hands down. And you're going to kick up. Switch sides. All right? So here, hands down, kick up. Switch side. There you go here. Kick up. Switch side. Here. Kick up. Switch side. Here. Kick up. Switch side. Here. There you go. Kick up. Switch sides. All right. So those are 2 drills you can use to find some hang time. All right. So you want to practice those drills every day. How often should you practice handstands when you're first learning until you get it? Every day. All right. So now we're going to move on to an entry, or I guess it's more so of a drill that most yogas use. All right. And so this is a great way to learn how to find balance as well. So what we're going to do is start in a downward dog. All right. And so this gets into that tucked handstand that I was talking to you about earlier, for people that have issues with the banana back. All right. So remember, concept: fingers nice and spread, hands are shoulder distance apart. All right. So apply those concepts. You want to keep those arms locked out once you go up. So we're starting in downward dog. All right. So you want to walk the feet up a little bit. You're going to bend the knees and then hop up. All right. Right back down. Up. Down. Up. Down. Up. Down. Up. And down. All right. So, try with me now. So this time, we're gonna try to hold it a little bit longer. All right. So this whole concept, we're trying to find how to balance ourselves without the wall. All right. So these little drills are very major. All right, without using the wall. So try it with me. And then we'll add on. Whoop, I'm losing balance. What do? You'll either roll or you'll enter your back bend. All right, so we'll add that in there this time. So we'll add the roll this time. So again, starting in downward dog, you're gonna walk the feet up. You're gonna bend the knees, then hop up. There you go, right back down. Make sure you're breathing up, down, up, up, back bend. You lose balance at times. All right. Well, I said we would do the roll, but let's do the roll now. So try it again. Make sure you're breathing. All right. So coming into that downward dog, you're gonna bend the knees, and don't be afraid to kick up. Like we don't need to be doing no, little itsy bitsy little kick up. You learn how to fall, roll out into your back bend. Don't be afraid. We gotta learn how to remove our fear I know it's gonna take some time, but don't be afraid. So again, here, bend the knees, and then up. All right, down. Breathe. Up. Roll. If you find that you lose balance. All right. Now, with all of these drills that we've done, one of the key components is keeping the core tight. Now, again, mentally, when you're new, there's a whole lot of things that are going on that you're trying to remember. You gotta remember to breathe. You gotta remember to keep your arms like that. You gotta remember to roll. You gotta don't worry about it. The breathing is gonna come. All right, your exit strategy is gonna come. That's more important than anything. If you don't remember anything, remember to roll out or to enter your back bend if you're falling, or you can injure yourself. You can. All right. But when it comes to the breathing, that's important. But you're probably going to have to find your balance first before you actually breathe. All right. So keep at it. All right. So those are 3 drills that you can use to help yourself find balance without what? The wall. All right. Peace out. All right, guys, so this portion of the DVD is going to be finding your balance and the most common entries into a handstand. All right, so entry number 1 is your standard kick up. All right, and so what we're going to do is, let's start with the feet together. So what I'm going to do is bring my foot back. All right. And kind of like a triangle is what we call it in yoga. So triangle looks like this. All right, so my back foot is at a 45-degree angle. All right, and so what I'm gonna do is just bring my hand straight up. All right, so from here, I'm gonna round my upper half as I come to the tippy toe on my back foot. All right. And then slowly come up. All right. And so the foot that's in front of me is my kicking foot. All right. So this is where I find my power. All right. This is my kicking foot. The foot in the front is the kicking foot. All right. So let's try it again. Got a slight bend here. Hands are coming up. I'm gonna round my body, bend, and then kick. So let's dive deeper into it. So what am I actually doing to hold myself up? All right. So you learn about all of the key components you need of keeping the fingers spread, keeping the arms locked out, breathing, point your toes, keep the core tight. I'm doing all of those things, but I'm doing them very comfortably because I've been doing it for a while. Now, one of the key components that a lot of people don't use is bringing the glutes together. All right, so that's very important. Now, if you're a guy, I ain't on no other stuff, but I just want you to notice something. So if you're here and you're just relaxed, right here, I mean, and you're upside down, how do you kind of maintain that balance? All right, so if you bring the glutes together, that'll actually activate the core a little bit more. So it's here and then here. You feel the difference here? Relax. Now squeeze it together. So when you squeeze it together, you want to tighten the core a little bit more, and you want to activate that lower back as well. All right. So everything comes together. The legs come together. The core tightens up. All right, you keep the arms locked out. You point the toes. All right. So all of this is the core. All of this works together. All of this is the center. All of this has to be activated. So your thighs, your hips, your butt, your core, all of this is the core. So let's try it again. We're starting here. Hands come up above the head. My hands are going to be what? Shoulder distance apart. I round my back and then I kick up. All right. All right. So now that you kind of got the concept, I'm going to show you some different leg placements you can use to actually learn and to balance yourself a little bit better. All right. So the first one is your bent knees. All right. So with the bent knees, it's kind of like you're doing a split, except both of your knees are bent. Now it's gonna take some time to kind of mentally grasp the concept, and maybe you can use the wall just for that. All right. So I'm gonna show you that one. Now, why this one is important is because you're learning how to counterbalance. All right. So that's the point of having a leg going one direction and the other. It's counterbalance. All right, so let's try it again. We're here, and then we kick up. All right. You see how I bent my knees? So I'm gonna try it again, and I'm gonna hold it this time. Here, kick up. So I bended my knees here. All right. So this is a good way to counterbalance. See how I'm counterbalancing? And then eventually you'll be able to just hold it without moving. All right. So basically, with that type of handstand, whichever leg you kick off with is a leg you're going to keep in the front. All right. So that's counterbalancing. All right. So we're still on entry one. So that was leg placement number one. So another one is commonly used for a lot of flexible people with it's a split leg handstand. Now the only thing with this one is if you're too bendy in your back and you don't activate your core, you can lose balance. All right. So same kind of concept. This time we're gonna straighten the legs out onto a split leg. All right. So again, we're starting here. Hands come up. All right. Around the upper half of the body, kick up. All right. So you're split legging it here. It's a good way to counterbalance. All right. So what do I mean by counterbalance? By counterbalance, I mean you distribute your weight evenly through the legs. All right. So it's kind of like a scale. You know, if you shift one side down, the other one comes up. But what you want to do is find that in between. You want to find that balance that's in between. All right. Now here's a handstand that I find is easier for me to well, not now, but I found this to be the most common handstand for me to find balance within my first 2 years of learning the handstand, or learning and practicing the handstand. All right, so at this point, it's been over 4 years that I've been practicing handstand. So same entry, and we want to scorpion the legs this time. All right, so if you're like me, you may find that scorpion the legs may be a easier way to find balance. All right, so entry number one again. So we're here, hands come up, we're gonna hollow the body, then we're gonna kick up. All right, kick up, and then scorpion the legs here. So with scorpion, I find that it's very easy to balance for me. Now why is that? It's because the way I'm able to distribute my weight is a little bit more comfortable, because I'm able to open my chest, I'm able to arch my back, and then I have my feet coming in a direction that's very comfortable for me. And the more that I kind of raise my head up, the more that I find balance. All right, so I'm gonna do it again. So we're here, scorpion legs, hands come up, hollow the body, and kick up. All right, and then I open the chest, arch the back, raise the head up, and I breathe. All right. So, what's the point that I'm trying to get at? The point that I'm trying to get to is you never know what's going to click for you. A split-legged handstand may click for you before anything. So whatever you find that clicks for you, you want to stick to that until you become good at that, and then you can apply those same principles and balance and technique that you've learned from that one handstand that you've learned to do to all of them. All right. Now, some of you are better with the straight leg one. All right. So if you come from a gymnastic background, you know, maybe you learn how to do the handstand and now you forgot. You know, so maybe the concept of you learning your handstands with straight legs. Now, straight legs, I find it to be a lot more difficult for most people. All right. So straight leg, we'll go into that. So I'm just thinking about a few things. So straight leg, again, bring those arms up. All right. Hollow the body, bring the hands down, and then you're gonna kick up. All right. So then when you kick up, bring it all together as we talked about earlier. So everything comes together. Legs, feet, arms locked out, breathe. All right. So everything comes together. You have a slight arch in the back that can throw you off. If you're leaning too far forward, coming backwards, that can throw you off. All right. So again, if you find that you have that hollow back or arch in your back, you lose balance, you want to exit in your somersault, or you want to exit again in your back bend. All right. So we've gone through entry number one with different leg placements. All right. Now we're gonna move on to crow to handstand. This entry is pretty common amongst guys that lift weights, powerhouse guys, athletes, calisthenic guys. So crow to handstand, or some of you guys in those different fields call it frog to handstand, whatever you call it. All right. So we're starting the crow. All right. And we're bringing the feet together here. All right. So that's step number one. Starting crow, feet together here, and then you use your momentum to push up. All right. So typically with that entry, you'll find that those guys tend to arch their back with a banana. Well, I guess you can say they tend to use a banana back, and they can get away with it because they are so strong. So these are the guys that have very strong cores. They have very strong shoulders, very strong triceps, very strong legs. They can get away with that because they're strong. All right. And so if you want to become stronger at that entry, you want to practice going up and down. All right. So you go up, and then you practice coming down. And the key you want to remember is you want to breathe. All right. So we're going to do it. We're going to go up, and then we're going to go down. All right. And now you want to practice this every day. One of the the advantages of trying this entry, even if you're not strong enough. If you just try, even if it doesn't even matter if you're a woman, it doesn't matter what your gender is. If you keep trying it, you're gonna get very strong. This is the in my beginning phase, this is the way I was able to get into handstand before I could kick up to it or any other entry. This is the one right here. All right. So you're gonna build your endurance. You're gonna get stronger. You're gonna learn how to breathe. These are the 3 advantages that you learn from trying this entry here. All right. So curl the handstand again. So here, I bend my arms and I use my momentum to shift my body up. So up. Make sure I breathe and then back down. All right. So it's all about breathing. So maybe you do that one time, take a break, do it again. Take a break, do it again. And then over time, what you'll find is your as I said, your endurance will build up, and then you'll be able to go up and down, up and down, up and down without taking a break for maybe 5, maybe even 10 times. You know. So that's entry number 2. Entry number 3, we kind of covered it before, so this is more in that yoga style. So entry number 3 would be your hop. So you're gonna hop into a handstand. So this handstand is very good for those of you that want to get away from the banana back. So if you find that you lack the actual strength of holding yourself up with the banana back, which is, I'm not gonna say it's a bad thing to have a banana back, but this is how you get away from it. So we're gonna start in that downward dog again. All right, so we start in that downward dog. All right, so you're gonna bring the feet up some. You're gonna bend and hold. So bend, all right, up, hold. So notice how my hips are stacked, all right? And I found my balance through, you still have the slight arch like a hollow back, but the only difference is your lower half is in front of you instead of behind you. All right, so you can keep that hollow, you can keep that banana back, but when you bring the knees in front of you, then you're able to find a little bit more balance as long as you keep the hips stacked. So if your hips come too far in front of you, then guess what? You're gonna come back. All right, so let's try it again. I'm starting my downward dog. Feet comes up. I'm gonna bend and then hop. Bend, hop. All right. All right. Now, one thing I've noticed is some people have a very hard time when they hop with their feet together. If you hop with your feet together, you leave yourself no room to find balance with control majority of the time until you get very good. All right. So, as a beginner, intermediate, advanced, what level, doesn't matter what level you're at. All right. So we're going to start in the tabletop. Now notice how my feet are hip distance apart. So I'm going to hop with my feet hip distance apart. And then I want you to try to hop with your feet together. All right. So feet hip distance apart. Walk up, bend, hop. All right. Now let's try it with the feet together. Let's see how much difficult it is. So feet together, bend, hop. You see there? So if you open your legs a little bit more, you'll be able to find more balance. You'll be able to go up a lot more easy. All right. So here's another entry for you. So let's say that you get pretty good and you know, I'm getting good at my crane. You know, my arms are straight. You know, I'm just a rock star. I'm getting very good. And there's nothing wrong with having confidence in yourself. So you find that you get pretty good with your handstand, you get pretty good with the crane. Let's put them together. So crane to handstand is similar to crow to handstand, except you're losing a lot less energy once you get over the fear of going up with straight legs. So with this one, you want to keep in mind that you want to keep your arms locked out. You want to use your core to drive the hips up while maintaining those arms out. So what you want to do is you want to keep those hips stacked all the way up. All right, I'm going to show you what I mean. So crane, straight arms. I'm going to work my knees into the armpits here. All right, so my fingers are nice and spread. Raise to the tippy toes. Up. Right. Now, a good way to work up to that is working on your crane. All right. So your crane, you want to work up to holding it for 30 seconds. It's not going to be easy, but what you'll find is the longer you're able to hold the crane, the longer you're able to hold the handstand, the easier that transition is going to be. All right, so this is the portion of the DVD where we're actually going to use the wall. All right, so the first exercise is for a beginner. Let's say you have zero strength at all. Your upper body strength, I mean, it's terrible. All right, so this is what you're gonna do. So option number one, you're gonna start in the tabletop. All right, and then you're gonna come up and back down. Up, down. Up, down. All right, that's option number one for total beginners. So let's say you're more of an intermediate. All right, so what I'm gonna have you do is you're gonna do your basic plank. All right, so your basic plank, here's how it looks. So it's just like the starter of a push-up position. So you're not slouching down, you're not coming up too high. You want to be straight across. All right, so here is option number three. Option number three, we're going to actually use a wall if you're more advanced. All right, so here's what you're going to do. You're going to start here and you're going to bring those feet up on the wall. All right, and what you're going to do is you're going to actually hold that. All right, so what's the purpose of this? Doesn't seem like it has anything to do with the handstand, but it actually does. So it's working on building your strength, a solid foundation for straight arm strength. All right, so I have my stopwatch here and we're gonna go. So option one, you start in the tabletop, up down, up down. Option two, you're just gonna flat out just hold the plank. Option three, we're gonna hold the feet up on the wall. All right, so 1 minute. Everybody ready? Go. Make sure you're breathing. Keep that core nice and tight. Breathe, breathe, breathe. Try to keep the arms locked out. Remember, the more you don't have the arms locked out, the harder it's going to be to hold yourself up and the more energy you're going to use. So keep that core nice and tight. So we're halfway through. Everything you got, don't give up on me. Everything you got, don't give up on me. Breathe, breathe, breathe. Come on. Come on, keep going. Keep going. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. So that's exercise number 1. All right. You should be feeling it. All right. No matter what level you were, you should be feeling it. Now the feet on the wall, it's an entirely different story. It's tough. All right. It's not easy. All right. So here's the second exercise you need to do. I want you to follow along with me. I don't want you to just look at me, even if it's your first time. You can try one of them at least. All right. Option number 1. All right. So this is if you're just a flat out, you're a total beginner. This is what you're gonna do. All right. So what we're gonna have you do is start off in tabletop again. All right. So from here, what I want you to do is, I want you to raise the hips up. All right. And I want you to straighten the arms out. All right. So you're gonna go down just before the knees touch the ground or the mat, and then right back up. Down, back up. All right. So if you're a total beginner, you have like absolutely no strength at all. Intermediate, here's what you're gonna do. All right. So basically what I want you to do is, I want you to raise up. I'm gonna go down and up. Down and up. All right. So if you're a flat out, just intermediate. All right. So if you're advanced, what are you gonna do? I bet you can guess. You're gonna have your feet on the wall. So having your feet on the wall, it can be just enough, but if you want to add a little bit more onto it, maybe you add push-ups to it. All right. And now, after we're done with this cycle, what I want you to do is replay the DVD 2 more times. So you want to do 3 total rounds. So when you take a break, take a couple minutes break, and then come right back to this section. All right. So if you're advanced, you're starting here, feet up on the wall. All right. So down, up, down, up. All right. So everybody knows what they're gonna do now. All right. So we're gonna go for 30 straight seconds. All right. So now you've had enough time to rest, and we're gonna go 30 straight seconds. All right. So ready? Everybody got your gear ready? All right. Up, down, 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 up, down. One more, down. All right. How's everybody feeling? You guys feeling pretty good? Cool. So as you're taking a break, I'm gonna go use the wall just a little bit more. All right. So the only reason, as I stated before, that you would need a wall really is to build strength, and if you want to just practice being upside down. All right. So you'll see a lot of people, they'll get upside down on the wall and then they'll come right back down. But what about holding it for a minute? Anybody ever do that? No? Yes? All right, we'll try it. So 1 full minute. All right. Now I usually do this without the wall, but for today's purposes only, we're gonna use the wall. All right. So now If you're a total beginner, you have absolutely no strength at all, here's what you're gonna do. So you're gonna start in tabletop, all right? You're gonna do this for 1 minute. In tabletop, you're gonna raise up, you're gonna walk up, then you're gonna walk back down, back to the knees. Knees up, walk it up, and then walk it back down. All right, so that's 1 minute. So if you're more of an intermediate, I want you to stop at 30 seconds. If you're advanced, we're gonna hold it for 1 minute. All right, so if that's too easy for you, you go for 1.5 minutes. If that's too easy for you, you go for 2 minutes. So you pick what's gonna work for you. All right, so you can already be going ahead. You already have your head start. So when you replay this again, you already know that you're already going if you need to be up more than 1 minute. All right, so kicking up against the wall. If you're a absolute beginner, when you're kicking up and you go up, the wall is gonna help you prevent you from going over. It's not gonna actually hold you up. So I've seen this time and time again. They go up and then they bend the arms and they crash on their head. You know, vertically, the wall is not gonna hold you up. It's only gonna hold you up horizontally. So it's gonna keep you from going back and forth. All right, so make sure you lock your arms out and you don't go up expecting the wall to hold you straight up and down, because it's not. That's where you have to hold your own self up. Now, if you need a spot, you get a spot. You get somebody to help you out. You get you some pillows, all right? You know, and maybe you need 2 spotters. Whatever you need, we have to do this if you're more on the intermediate level, all right? So I got my stopwatch here. We're gonna go for 1 minute. Ready, go. So lock the arms out. Make sure you're breathing. Make sure you're breathing. You can look up. You can have a little fun. You can rest the butt on the wall. Whatever you want to do, as long as you make it to 1 minute. So keep those arms locked out. Good. Keep going. So if you're intermediate, you stop now. If you're advanced, you keep going. Make sure you breathe. Breathe, breathe, breathe. Come on, 15 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, so how does that feel? Should feel pretty good. You should feel pumped up in your shoulders. All right, so this is the only reason why you would really need a wall. Now I will say this: if you just absolutely feel like you just have to use the wall to practice balance, then you know you can use it for 2 weeks if you're gonna go up the way we just did. But what I would recommend, the only beneficial way of using a wall to learn balance is if you go up sideways. So I'll have 1 foot here and then I have 1 foot free. That way, if I inch my foot off and on, then I have me to balance, as opposed to, if I'm tumbling over. Remember, if you feel like you have to fall, then you roll out of it, or you go into your back bend. So what are our 2 exit strategies? Back bend, and then you got the somersault to roll out. So just to demonstrate, we go up just like we would, just like a cartwheel, like we learned earlier in the DVD. All right. So your cartwheel, you're gonna start here, and I'm gonna do my side that I never do. I'm gonna do my weak side. All right. So cartwheel, all right, and then we're going up. All right, and then you can work on inching the foot off that way. All right. So try it with me. Cartwheel, and then you're gonna bring your foot up. All right. So I'm gonna try it the other way, which it kind of felt pretty good that way, but try it both ways. So if you start here, I got my lead foot forward, and I go up, cartwheel. All right, cartwheel, find a little balance, bring the foot off. Feet come together, lock the arms out. All right, so that's one of the good drills you can do to actually learn balance by using the wall. All right, so now we're gonna move on to some core action. All right, so we're gonna use the wall again. So we're gonna work this core. All right, let's say you're an absolute beginner. You have zero strength at all. Here's what you're gonna do. All right, so you're gonna start here. All right, tabletop. One foot comes up, one comes down. All right, so one up, one comes down. Back up, back down. All right, so what you're gonna do, if you're a total flat out beginner, you have zero strength at all. Intermediate, all right, here's what you're gonna do. And as I stated, as I was, promoting and pushing this DVD out on Instagram and Facebook, we have progression steps. So when you ask me where the progression steps, these are the progression steps you need to build that strength up to where you're doing superhuman, incredible handstands. All right. So intermediate. So we're here, feet on the wall. So knee to elbow. Knee to elbow. All right. Now, here's the grand finale. If you are advanced, you have your work cut out for you. Here's what you're gonna do. Some of you may have seen it before, maybe you haven't. I don't know. Advanced. All right. So you're here, and you're gonna walk up. All right, and then walk it back down. All right. So, if you're advanced, we're gonna do that 5 times. If you're intermediate, I want you to go as long as it takes us to come up and back down 5 times. If you're a beginner, I want you to go as long as it takes us to go up and down 5 times. Now we're not gonna rush through this. We're gonna really take our time. We wanna go through the movement slow and controlled. All right, so 5 total times. Here we go. Ready, go. So take your time. And use your entire body. Breathe. Breathe. Up. Back down. Breathe. Back down. Good. So how you guys feeling? Feeling that superhuman strength? All right. So now that advanced movement is really good to work the core as well as the upper body. So a lot of you guys talk about what can you do to throw your body around like it's nothing? Do several rounds of that every day, and you'll be throwing your body around like it's nothing. All right. So even if you do it 3-4 times a week, you want to make sure you're doing. You want to do your max amount of reps 5 times every day. All right. So this completes the portion of the DVD that you need to gain strength for an actual handstand, and these are the exercises you can use to progress as well as build on. All right, thank you. So once you've gotten a pretty good handstand, these are things you can work up to or work on. And when I tell you that blocks have been a big part of me learning how to balance myself to another level, like I've been doing a lot of this. So if I mess up any in this portion of the DVD, it is what it is. You know, you guys know that I'm real with mine, so you know I'm not gonna create an illusion that I never mess up. So the first step you want to do is just you want to learn how to balance on the blocks with all different angles. All right. So you wanna start with the blocks flat. All right. You want to kick up. You want to just find some balance here. All right. It's pretty simple, right? And now, here is where it starts to get a little bit tricky. So as you go into your step number 2, you want to have your blocks flipped on the side, but I guess this would be flipped to the side. I guess I don't know. So once you feel comfortable balancing here, then you want to try flipping them up. So what this is going to do is test you and keep it's going to make you learn how to control everything through the core. So you can't be leaning too much this way or it's going to flip. You can't be leaning too much that way or it's going to flip. So you want to keep your weight in the center of the core. So same thing with here. You want to just kind of inch up. And once you find that balance, you're going to go up and then hold. Alright? And so I find that it's easier to balance with your leg when your legs are straddled. Alright? So, alright, now let's say you're good with that, and now you want to go to the next step. So the next step is to flip the blocks upright. Alright, now this is where it can kind of get a little bit scary for a lot of you. So the key to having the blocks upright, balancing, is you want to remain as still as possible. All right. So you can't have any extra irky-jerky shaking motion. So you have to be still. You have to keep the core engaged. That's really it. So if you're at this point, you know how to do a handstand. Now you're learning how to control objects as well as controlling yourself. So the biggest key to balancing with the blocks upright is to remain calm, and you want to remain as still as possible. All right. So let's give it a shot. So we're here, and then we kick up. So again, you're trying to remain as still as possible. All right. So that's step number 3. So once you feel comfortable there, then you can start to try to kind of play with moving the blocks, you know. So step number one would be to just to start with the blocks flat, and then we're going to work on just throwing them away. So that's the motion we're going to work on now. So you're going to start here, and you're going to work on just throwing it away. Now we're not going to make this a super fast motion. So a lot of you may be thinking, well, how do I shift my weight? So you have to remember, once I go up, and let's say I'm leaning to my right, I'm not bringing all of my weight over. All I'm doing is shifting just enough so I have enough room to just throw the block away and bring the hand down. All right? So this is not, we're not trying to work on a one-arm handstand. You know, it's just, we're just working on just shifting the body. And you can, until you become comfortable, you can actually do this on the wall. So we're going to go up and we're going to try it. Alright, so I'm up. And I tilt slightly. Alright. So once you get one, then you'll try to get two. Alright. So let's try it again. And when I'm tilting, you have to make sure your weight is not going to come forward. So when you tilt, you want to keep that straight line from side to side, all right? So you have to keep that straight line because when you come down, you have to maintain the balance through the core. So keep that core engaged. You want to keep that balance in the center, all right? So it may take a little bit of time, but it's all right. So up, all right, over, all right. So let's try it again. So I have my blocks here, and again, 1, 2. So try to maintain that balance. All right, 1, 2. All right. And if at first you have to walk out of it, that's fine. As long as you stay up, you're good. All right. So that's what would it be? Step 4. All right. So that's step 4. I think I'm counting right. Step 5. Again, you want to try to remain as still as possible. So we'll start with the blocks flipped up. And we're going to work on just flipping them down. All right? And then once you get good, you flip them down and you can flip them back up. All right? So we'll try it. And again, you take your time and you try to remain as still as possible. You just leaning just enough just to find room just to flip the block up. All right, so we're not shifting all of our weight over. We're still keeping that weight towards the center. We're just shifting just enough just to raise up and rotate the block. So let's try it. Up. There's 1. There's 2. You're going to flip them down. Alright? So that was the next step. So step number 6 would be you're going to have multiple blocks stacked. Alright, and it becomes a little bit more difficult. So now, what we're going to do is throw them. Throw them. Throw them. here. All right. So let's give it a try. And the better you become, the more blocks you can stack on here. At one point, I think I was able to do 5, but the thing about this is, the more blocks you have stacked, the less room you have to wiggle with. So if you shift just slightly, you can tumble all of the blocks down. All right. So you're just shifting just enough to get enough room just to throw the blocks away. All right. That's all it is. So let's give it a shot. We'll try it again. Let's see if I can get them all down this time. So remember, you have to keep that balance in the center, because when you're bringing the hand down, you can tend to bring your weight coming back the way that you don't need to be. All right. So keep that core tight. Keep that balance towards the center on that side to side axis. All right. So try that again. There we go. All right. So that's step 6. Now for the grand finale. And I'm not going to do 2 because I need a completely flat surface and the weather is not really cooperating at this moment. So the last step would be is to hop off the blocks. All right. It sounds very scary, but here's what I do. So again, when I'm on the blocks, I'm remaining as still as possible. All right, I'm breathing, because you're gonna use too much energy if you're stressing out, which I understand it's gonna take a little bit of time, but if you're stressing out, you're gonna be using way too much energy. So make sure you're breathing, make sure you're calm. Now the key to hopping off of the block, all right, is to find balance. Now, prerequisites for this would be, I would recommend that you can do, maybe 8 handstand push-ups. All right. So that's what I would say a prereq would be, because if something goes wrong, then you'll be able to catch yourself, before your chin actually touches, and then you can press yourself back up. All right. So the key with this one is, starting off, you want to have your blocks about shoulder distance apart. And then when I go up into my handstand, I'm trying to find comfort. All right. And so when I'm hopping off, my upper half has to maintain its weight. My lower body has to maintain its weight with stacking the hips, core all the way up into my upper body. So when I hop forward, my lower body is slightly going forward, and then I catch myself. So it's a little bit tougher if your lower half of the body is behind you, is in front of you, So you want to shift that weight ahead of you, so that way when you catch yourself, then you're right in that handstand. Now what I won't recommend is for you to scorpion your legs too much, because then when you come down, you can add a lot of stress onto that lower back. All right, so let's try it. We'll go up, and then when I'm hopping off, my lower half of the body is going forward. That way, when my hands meet, I have a better chance at catching myself. So let's try it. If I mess up, I just mess up. Alright, so I'm up. Yep. And then you shift forward. So maybe at first you may have to walk it out. And you just keep trying, and then bingo, you'll be able to catch yourself. So when I actually hop, I have my arms pretty straight. Sometimes I don't straighten them out all the way, so maybe the arms are slightly bent. Then I bend and then push up as I throw the blocks away. So let's try it again. Up. And that's how it'll look. Now let's say that height is a little too scary, and it took me a while to adjust to where I can stack a whole nother block on here. But what I found is when I started off, you flip them this way. That way you'll learn the concept and the height is not too far up. So you'll start here. So instead of having them flipped here, you can start with them here. Alright? So you go up and then hop off that way. Alright? And so you just want to practice every day, guys. That's all it is practice, practice, practice. Nothing is going to come overnight. Alright? So this completes this section of the DVD. This portion of the DVD is about tiger bend push-ups. So tiger bend push-ups are a pretty difficult task to learn, and it takes a lot of persistence, a lot of practice, and you just can't give up on it. So I say, if it's something that you want, you need to practice it every day. So somebody may be saying, what is a tiger bend push-up? Well, I'll go ahead and demonstrate what a tiger bend push-up is, and then I'll break it down into the different segments that you need in order to complete this task. So here we go. Alright, so that's a tiger bend push-up. So, what are the prerequisites that you need to work on before accomplishing this tiger bend push-up? Step number one is you need to have a solid handstand. Alright, so not only do you have to have a solid handstand, I would recommend that you be able to do 10 handstand push-ups non-stop. Alright, so you don't have to come all the way down, so your chin doesn't have to touch the surface and back up. Just kind of like, a nice range of motion. So 10. Alright, so if we're talking going all the way down, so chin touches the surface and back up, I say all you have to be able to do is maybe 5. Alright? So, step number one, you need to have a solid handstand. You need to have solid handstand push-ups. Alright? So, I'm not saying the handstand push-ups against a wall. I'm talking freestanding handstand push-ups. Alright? So, handstand push-ups. So, I'm going to go up. Alright, so that's a part of step number 1. All right. So it's also important that you can hold yourself up on your forearms. All right. So forearms stand. All right. So this is very important. So I'm going to teach it from a very beginner level, and then we'll move up. So forearm stand, you want to make sure that your hands are shoulder distance apart. All right. So you want to drop down to your elbows here. You want to keep this shape here. So again, as we talk about, we want some space underneath so that we can grip the surface. All right. And a very important aspect is you want to keep this L shape on the arm here. So you don't want to be sinking down too low, because then you'll damage your elbows that way. All right. So if you're a very beginner and you don't have the strength at all, here's what you need to do to gain it. All right. So I'll turn this way so you can see me and I have enough room. So you want to work in a dolphin, and you want to hold it here. All right. So you want to do 5 rounds of that, and you want to hold it as long as you can. And maybe you take 30 seconds, break in between, and then you'll find over time that you'll start to develop that strength you need to hold yourself up on your forearms. All right, so now actually entering into a forearm stand, the same concept. So we're here. You want to start in the dolphin plank. You want to walk up so that your hips are stacked. Raise one leg up and then kind of press up that way. All right. And that's how you want to go up. So remember, the more that you stack your hips with the upper body, the easier it is. It's just kind of easily bring your feet up. All right. So if you want to practice that on the wall, that's fine for maybe 2 weeks. Don't go longer than 2 weeks, because then you'll start to get too comfortable with the wall. All right. So I think it's very important to try it without the wall. You know, the wall is not always going to be there for you if you plan on having a free body away from the wall. All right. So we got the handstand push-ups and we got the forearm. And so now we have to put them together. All right. So before we actually put them together, there's one more step that I feel is very important, and that's to be able to hold yourself in a half hold while you're in the handstand. And this is what it looks like. So when you go up, all right, so you're here, and then you're going to come down and hold. All right. So you want to do that every day. So hold it as long as you can. Even if you use a wall, you can use your wall, come down halfway, hold it. Time yourself. First round, you go as long as you can go. Make sure you have that time. The next 4 rounds, you want to try to beat that time. All right. So now that we have that, now it's time to work on the actual motion of the tiger bend. So the motion is you're in that half push hold, and then you're gonna rock back, and then you're gonna come forward. All right. So I'll show you what that looks like. So I'm gonna start on the forearms, and I like to be a scorpion, if you don't mind. I find that it's easier for me to balance that way. Some people like to do it with straight legs. It just depends on what works for you. All right, so I'm here, up, all right. So that's kind of what it looks like, all right. And so while I have you practice your half hold, is because you have to be able to hold yourself up just before, or some people like to rest their chin a little bit. Sometimes I do, it just kind of depends. But the thing about it is you don't want to rest all of your weight on your chin, because then you can injure your neck, all right? So try to hold yourself up when you're moving in that motion. How do you maintain the balance going back and forth? Well, when you're in your forearm stand, you have your lower half of your weight going slightly forward, and then when you press forward, you want to press up slightly so that your chin has enough room to come through, all right? And so at that point, when you're pressing forward, your core needs to remain tight. You need to squeeze the glutes together as well as the lower back, all right? So we'll try that again, all right? So, and I'll kind of let you know what I'm doing as best I can as I'm doing it, all right? All right, so we're here, all right? So I'm breathing. I have my butt tight, all right, lower half, lower back tight, all right? And so I'm pressing forward. And see, my chin is up above, and then I come back, all right? So remember, when you press forward, you want to hold yourself up. That way you have room to bring your chin through, all right? So when you press forward, you're at that half push hold so that you have the room to come through. Now, once you're able to do that one time, you want to work on doing it 2 times, then 3 times, 4. You want to even work up to doing it to 10 times. So when you're able to do it 10 times, then, I mean, it's going to become just like it's nothing, all right? So it's all about practice and patience, all right? And so once you've gotten that down, going back and forth, now you can put everything together, all right? So you'll start in a handstand, all right? So then you come down to that half push hold, then you can slide back, and then you press forward into a half push hold, and then press up. All right, so now you can kind of see how this all comes together, and you have everything you need to work on, all right? So let's demonstrate it all out. So this is putting it all together. All right. So I'm gonna come into my handstand. All right, breathing, half push hold, forearm up. All right. So those are the tiger bend push-ups. And once you're able to do one, as I said with the intermediate portion, you want to work to doing 2, then 3, then 4. You know, don't just stop once you can do it one time. You want to keep going. All right. So I hope this helps you. I broke it down to each step that you need to work on individually. So work on those steps, and then next thing you know, you'll be able to put it all together. All right. Thank you. Well, we talked about the 90-degree push-up. So just like the tiger bend push-up, you know, you have your prereqs that you need to work on, and then you have to put it all together. All right, so step number 1, obviously, you have to have a good handstand with a handstand push-up. All right. So again, here's my handstand, and you need a good handstand push-up. All right. So I would say that you need to work on being able to do probably 10 good handstand push-ups. So how do you work up to that? Again, every day you want to work on it. So let's say I can only do 3 this week. All right. So I can do 10 sets of my max reps every day. All right. So then, after 7 days, let's say I can take 2 days off to get a nice break and recovery time. Then the next 7 days, I'm back on, and I'm trying to do 5. All right. So after I do 5, and I do 10 sets for 7 days, then I take 2 or 3 days off, and then the next week I'm trying to do 6. And you'll see that you can get strong pretty quickly if you stick with it. All right. So when your muscles are tired and they repair themselves, you get stronger pretty quick. All right. So we talked about step number 1. Now step number 2 is you need to have that half push hold again, and then I'll tell you why as we go along. So the half push hold is you start in your handstand, all right, and then you come down halfway and you hold. All right. Again, you want to do that every day as well, maybe 5 days in a row. It just depends on how you feel. So you listen to your body. If you're tired, you take a break. All right. So the half push hold, maybe 5 sets, holding as long as you can. Maybe you use a stopwatch, time yourself on the first one. The next 4, try to beat that time. All right. So it's all about challenging yourself. Now, here is the third thing that you need to be able to do, obviously. So obviously, you want to be able to do, and I'm going to move this out the way so you can see. So if you're a total beginner, this is what you want to do. So you want to flip the hands. You want to make sure that the elbows can come together. All right? And then what you're going to do is kind of like you're starting in a tabletop. So again, my elbows are together as I bend. I'm going to rest the elbows on the rib cage, all right? So you're going to be here, and you want to try to find some balance there. So raise both feet up, all right? So as a beginner, that's where you want to start, all right? So why do you start there? Well, you have to learn how to hold yourself up, all right? So once you get pretty good at that, then you'll be able to work on holding yourself with the bent arm planche. So this time, the elbow is going to come on the outside of your rib cage, all right? So I'm going to flip my hands this way. I'm going to lean forward and just hold myself up on the outside of the ribs, all right? So, number 1, you have to have a solid handstand. You have to be able to do at least 10 handstand push-ups. Number 2, you have to be able to hold yourself in a half hold, because you'll notice when you're transitioning down, you'll have to be able to hold yourself up halfway before you can transition into the bent arm planche. All right. So now we want to start to put it together. All right. And so you'll see why I broke things down the way I did. So we're going to start in the handstand, and then we're just gonna work on lowering down. All right, so we'll go up. All right, so we're up. So we're gonna lower down, rest the chin, and then just work on slowly coming down like so. All right, and so each time we wanna work on slowing it down. So let's do it again. So we're gonna go up, we're gonna come to a half push hold, then we're gonna rest the chin just so that we can get our hands underneath us, and then we'll work on holding ourselves. All right, so again, we're here. Slowly coming down. Rotate the hand. And then you hold yourself there. All right. So that's the part that it takes some time, but it's even harder to go down and then come back up. All right. So once you have the motion of going down, then you know that's really good progress. But to make things easier, you want to work on those wrist stretches that we have on here. So you want to get to the point to where when you come down, your hands are still straight ahead. All right. So it's going to take a little bit of time to go from coming down this way to keeping your hands straight ahead. All right. And so when you're able to keep your hands straight ahead, then all you have to do is rotate your body after you come down, and then you go back up. All right. So, and it's an entirely different balance because you want to have your hands slightly rotated to the outside, so that it's going to require you to practice a little more because it's a different type of balance. All right. So I start with my hands here. I just rotate them out slightly. All right. So I'm gonna go down. All right. So we're here, breathing down. Back up. All right. So what if it's too hard to do it with your hands? Then you can practice with push-up bars, or you can use dumbbells. All right. So dumbbells or push-up bars are a good substitute if you don't have paralettes that you can work on. All right. So a lot of you, it may be a little scary at first if you're using something, but keep practicing. You'll come over the fear, and you know, things will get better for you. All right. So with your push-up bars or paralettes, if your wrists are not flexible, maybe you go this route. All right. So this way you have total grip on whatever you need to. All right. So we go up, down, up. Alright. And so that completes this portion of the DVD. So practice, break it down, and keep working on it. Alright, so work on those little parts to build up to the full movement. Alright. So on your peacock and your bent arm planche, you want to be able to work up to holding those for 30 seconds. Alright? So what part am I talking about? So when you're here, alright, well, I'll move these out the way. You're here, you're holding yourself up. You want to work on building up to a 30-second hold there. So it's all about building up the basics and then you build upon those basics. All right. So 30 seconds. How do you make it to 30 seconds? Same type of concept. If you can do it for 5 seconds this week, you want to do 5, let's say 5 rounds, all right? So round number 1, I time myself, all right, I discover I can only do it 5 seconds, all right? So the next 4 rounds, I'm going to try to beat that time, all right? So I'm gonna rest 30 to 45 seconds break in between these sets, all right? So after week number 1, week number 2, here's what you can do. I'm gonna try to get 8 seconds, all right? So I time myself, let's say I get 7 seconds. The next 4 rounds, I'm gonna try to beat that time, all right? You wanna continue that process. So each week, you wanna test yourself. You wanna challenge yourself to hold it longer and longer each week, all right? So even if you have a goal of, I want to be able to hold it for 15 seconds right now. And if you don't, that's fine. Guess what? You're progressing. All right, so keep working on those little steps, like I said, and then apply those little steps and it all comes together. All right, so thank you. This completes this portion of the DVD. Portion of the DVD where we talk about using dumbbells to work on your balance for handstands. All right. Now this portion of the DVD, if I mess up, it is what it is. You'll be able to get the concept. All right. So I have 2 dumbbells. All right. So what are we gonna do with the dumbbells? I'm gonna show you a few different types of balances that I used to work on. I'm not gonna say I really don't really work on it that much. So with your dumbbell, you want to, number 1, you want to just practice on just being able to balance on them. You know, so your dumbbells are just like parallettes or your push-up bars. All right, so your first step is to just simply work on being able to get into a handstand. All right. All right, so that's step number 1. Step number 2, a good thing to work on is you want to start to kind of play with moving the dumbbells. So what that's going to make you do is activate the core, all right? And it's going to teach you how to control your body when it comes to movement, all right? So the tricky part about this is, it's not like you're walking on your hands. So when you're walking on your hands, you can just kind of make your momentum go behind you, and then you try to keep up with what your momentum is doing. But with this, it's a little bit different. All right. So before actually going to the first one, I'm gonna just kind of explain the concept. So the concept is we'll start in the handstand, and then what we're gonna do is try to slowly move it out. Slowly move it out. All right. So that's step number 1. All right, so let's give it a try. We're gonna go up, move it out. All right. So that's what you want to work on. So once you're able to move it out a little bit, maybe one day you work out to get it out pretty wide, like I've been able to work to in the past. So you work wide. And once you get wide, then you want to work on bringing it back in, all right? And you want to do that to both sides. You go out, you move it back in, all right? So this is going to give you that killer control that you want. You can do this, you can pretty much do anything handstand wise. All right, so let's try it again. So up, out, And again, make sure you work both sides. All right. And you wanna work on doing that as long as you can go. So go out, come back in. Go out, come back in. All right. And even if you want to use a wall, if you use a wall, that's fine. Again, don't go more than 2 weeks. So step number 2. All right. So this one calls for a little bit more power, and you guys have probably seen me do it. So this one here is you're balancing yourself kind of like a one-arm stab. All right. So you balance yourself on your elbow. So legs are up. You bring them out, bring it back in, and then you press up. All right. So that's a good step right there. So step number 2, it's pretty tough. All right, I'm not gonna lie. So you can practice on just being able to hold yourself up on that one-arm stab, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Go to your other side, back and forth, back and forth. All right, and there's no time limit on that or a certain amount of times. You just do it until you feel like you found some progress. All right. So the next step is, and you've probably seen me do this. So we're going to go up into a handstand, and then we're going to roll it over and switch hands. All right. I'll show you what that looks like. If I mess up, I mess up. So the thing about this is, you can be as creative as you want to. So if you switch sides, then maybe you can come down to an L set, go back up, switch sides again, go down to an L set. You could just do so much off of this. All right. So I'll kind of show you the concept. So we go up, got some good balance. All right, and I'll switch sides. All right. And so from here, maybe I can come down or go back up or whatever it is I want to do. So it's all about, the control. So these are things you can work on for control. All right. So you have the first one, just work on going out, moving back in. All right. Second one, maybe you work on a one-arm stab, out and in, practice on your breathing, and then you can push up. The last one, you can work on going side to side, side to side, side to side. All right. So give those some practice. Add a little bit of your own flavor onto it. I mean, you guys see what I do it. Sometimes I may switch sides and go down to a 90-degree push-up or something like that. I don't know. And make sure you work both sides. So I did the other side this time. Maybe I'll try the other side. All right. So up, over. All right. So let's try it again. Up and over. Up, over. Maybe you come down. Alright, so you can be as creative as you want to. Alright, so practice every day. Alright, my thing is, you don't find time to do anything that you want to do or you feel is right. You make the time. Alright, so again, this completes this portion of the DVD. Alrighty, this portion of the DVD is going to be floating into handstand as well as pressing into handstand, and then we'll get into the zombie press. Alright, so floating into handstand with straddle legs. I would have to say would be a good prerequisite for pressing into handstand. And so what do I mean when I say float? So floating is similar to a hop, all right? And so when we hop, we want to maintain that control all the way up with our straddle legs, all right? So by now, you know how your hands need to be placed and whatnot. So we are going to start with the feet, hip distance apart. All right, so you kind of like in a downward dog position. You're gonna bend the knees and then hop up. Hop up with the leg straddle, all right? So bend the knees, hop up, all right? And so what this does is it gets you in a rhythm of pressing into handstand, because that's the motion that it kind of takes, all right? So when you hop, you learn how to control yourself as you go up, all right? So that would be considered step number one, all right? So step number two, and you probably wonder why we have the blocks here. So we're going to use the blocks this time, all right? So what I'm going to do is use my blocks, and we're going to stand on them, all right? So what I want to do is bring my feet to the edge of the block. And so what we're going to do with that is we're going to raise to the tippy toes, because when you're pressing, you're going to use the tippy toes, and then once you get fancy, once you've been doing it for a while, you can get fancy and not use your tippy toes, whatever it is that you want to do. All right? So we're going to slouch down, so you're standing with the knees bent like I am. And what we're going to do is we're going to place our hands in front of us, all right? And so we're going to raise up with one leg, all right? So the leg that you're balancing on, you're on your tippy toe, and then you just want to kind of nudge a little bit and then up, all right? So that's going to get you in the rhythm of pressing as a beginner. So the whole concept that I'm trying to get you to is, once you get good with that on one block, and you want to make sure you do it on both sides. You want to do that, you want to press off one leg at a time, all right? So I'm going to start with my hands here. I'm going to raise to the tippy toes, all right? And then I'm going to just bring that foot up. Now, how am I doing that? All right? So now we're going to reverse it a little bit. So at the beginning of the DVD, in the headstand section, you worked on pressing up. So you learn how to stack your hips. So stacking the hips is very important when it comes to pressing into a handstand. So some of you guys may have to revisit this, and that's fine, because I still do. I really wouldn't consider myself much of a presser, although I can do it. I just like doing powerhouse stuff, you know. So here's something you can do to understand the concept of actually stacking your hips, all right? And the same principles will apply to your handstand. So we're going to start here. We're going to raise to the tippy toes and drop the head. All right? So we're going to walk the feet up so that they're stacked. And all you have to do is raise the legs up. All right? So let's try it again. We're starting here. We're going to raise to the tippy toes. All right? So we're going to drop the head. So my objective is to walk the feet up until my hips are stacked with the upper half of my body, and then you can just go up. All right? So that's the objective we want to apply even with this one-legged press. press. All right. So once you have a good one leg press and you learn how to stack your hips, you want to remember that you want to keep your arms locked out. You want to keep the shoulder girdle stiff. All right. So you want to keep the shoulder girdle stiff as you raise your hips through the core. You want to keep those hips stacked. So keep the hips stacked. All right. So coming back to the blocks. So you now know how to float into a handstand, and then you've learned how to press off of one leg, and you also understand the concept of pressing by practicing your press with the headstand. Now it's time to learn how to press with the feet on the blocks. All right. So remember, you're keeping the shoulder girdle stiff, you're keeping the arms locked out, and then you are keeping those hips stacked, and you're raising the hips through the core. So it's a pretty simple concept. All right. So I'm going to turn it to the side so that you can see what I mean. All right. So we'll turn the blocks this way. So notice how when I go up, I'm going to walk my feet up. So all I have to do is use my core to raise my lower half up. That's all you're doing. You stack the hips up, and all you have to do is use your core to raise the lower half of the body up. That's all it is. Now some of you may say, well, how are you breathing? So before I enter, I take a big inhale, exhale. All right. I take a big inhale, and then I exhale, explode up into it. All right. So let's see how it looks. So we're going to start here. Feet are at the edge of the blocks here. And so I'm going to raise up. So I'm going to raise to my tippy toes, and notice how I stack the hips. See? So the closer that you have your feet to your hands, the easier it'll be to lift yourself up. But for me, I like to leave a little bit more room. That way I can control it all the way up. All right? So if your feet are really close, then you want to make sure those hips are stacked, and you want to be a little bit slower going up versus if you have a little bit of space. All right? So let's try it again. Feet are at the edge of the blocks here. I have my hands the way they need to be. Then I'm going to raise up and I'm going to stack the hips. Keep the arms locked out. Shoulder girdle stiff. All right. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale up. All right. So I like to always use this concept. All right. So if you think about a balloon, all right, the balloon is not going to float if you don't have air in it. All right. So you have to have some air as you're going up, and then you exhale, release it as you're going up. All right. So you start as you inhale, you're going up, and then you exhale as you set yourself up. So always remember that it's kind of like a balloon. A balloon cannot float if it doesn't have air. So if you think of that concept, you won't float unless you have some air in you as you go up, and then you exhale. All right, settle into your handstand. All right. So now let's try it without the blocks. This is your last progression, and then once you get good, you can practice on pike pressing and all that stuff, which I rarely even do. So now let's add the full concept. All right. So I'm here, feet are hip distance apart. All right. So I'm breathing here. Inhale. Exhale. So inhale as I go up. Exhale once I get here. Alright? And once you've gotten your press down pretty good, zombie press is, it's the same exact thing. All you're doing is doing a push-up into your position of going into your press. Alright? So zombie press, if you can press in the handstand, you can do a zombie press. So the most important part of the zombie press is working your lower half again so that your hips are stacked. You want to keep those arms locked out, shoulder girdle stiff, alright? And you want to raise the hips high. That's a concept that I always had to remember. I'm not raising my hips up. You have to raise your hips up high. You don't want to use too much shoulder. So you want to use core and keep the arms locked out. Alright? So let's give it a go. So zombie press, and I'm not really as slippery as I need to be, but it's alright. So zombie press, we want to start with the hands. So hands are going to be shoulder distance apart. Alright? And so again, I'm going to slide myself forward. And I'm going to comfortably raise myself into the position that we just showed of getting into a press into handstand. Alright? So that's all it is. So work your way into getting into a press to handstand. And then you just take it from there. So remember to keep your hips stacked. So stack your hips. So work your body until you stack the hips. So here we go. So I'm pulling forward. Stack the hips. And now I'm up. Alright? So that's the most important part is you stack the hips. That's all you have to do. So keep raising those hips up high. Keep those arms locked out. Make sure you breathe like we talked about. And you'll be there. Alright? So this is completing this portion of the DVD. Go ahead and practice. Give it all you got. You'll get it. Stick with it. So the prerequisite for the stairs, I would say, number one, you need to have a handstand. You have to be very good with handstand push-ups, all right? And this is for safety reasons. I would recommend that you should be able to do 10 handstand push-ups. So handstand push-ups, and you need to be pretty good with walking on your hands. All right, so the key to walking on your hands is to keep your momentum going forward, but you still have to have a strong core, and you have to have control. All right, so we'll demonstrate it. All right, so walking on the hands, again, I'm keeping my momentum going forward, but you're maintaining that control through the core. All right, so we'll do it. Alright, so that's walking on the hands. So again, that's the prerequisite before actually doing anything on the stairs. Alright, so we're not going to do anything too crazy because I don't want you losing teeth. Alright, so we'll just get into walking down the stairs. Now walking down the stairs, if you've seen any part of the other DVD, you know how important shifting your weight can be. So I recommend you work on the block section because that's going to help you learn how to shift your weight. All right, and so that's all it is. is shifting your weight coming down the stairs. All right. So when I put one hand down, I'm making sure more of my weight is distributed on the hand that's going down, and vice versa. So that same concept of us walking on our hands kind of applies somewhat, but there's that side to side weight distribution as well. So when you're just walking on your hands, all you have to do is worry about your weight going too far forward. So when you're walking down the stairs, there's the side to side weight distribution as well as the weight going forward. So let's give it a shot. All right. So notice how my weight was still going forward. When I found that my weight was going too far in front of me, I adjusted and I brought my momentum to go forward, but you still have to be controlled. So keep that core tight. Make sure you're breathing as well. All right. And take your time. You don't have to rush through it. So that's going down the stairs. All right. So now when we talk about hopping down the stairs, that's like a whole nother beast of control that it takes. So I would recommend working up to 15 to 20 handstand push-ups for safety precautions. All right. So it's very dangerous, and you know, you got to be strong and you got to be able to control yourself going down. So again, your momentum is going forward. All right. And you just got to maintain that control through the core. So let's give it a try. All right. So notice how when I felt myself losing a little bit of control, I dropped down to my handstand push-up. That way I'm able to gain my control back, as well as for safety reasons from crashing and breaking my teeth apart. That's why you have to be able to breathe, and you have to be pretty good with your handstand push-ups. You have to be very strong and controlled. All right, so now you can see how the block training can kind of be applied to this. So you learn how to control and hop off the blocks, and then you can apply those same principles of weight distribution and control to the stairs. All right, so the last part is actually walking up the stairs. Now, this is pretty tough. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. So, you know, you want to really work up to being able to do about, 20 to 25 handstand push-ups, and it requires a lot of strength and a lot of balance, a lot of weight distribution, and the biggest thing is you want to keep your weight going forward. All right. So if you lose your balance and your weight is coming in front of you, then you're gonna have a hard time going up. So the easier it is to have your weight going forward. All right. So you keep your weight going forward. That gives you the momentum to go up. All right. And so that's really all I can say about it, is to be patient, take your time, and then hopefully you'll be able to make your way up. So let's try it. All right. And so you notice how I kept my momentum going forward. All right. So you keep the momentum going forward. You bring the legs to where they're folding forward, but you don't want them together. So when your legs are a little bit open, it leaves you room to move. All right, and so that completes this portion of the DVD. Thank you. All right, guys, so this portion of the DVD is going to be stretches you can use to cool down after you've practiced, as well as the stretches that will help improve your handstand practice. All right, so you have to work on opening your shoulders, and you have to work on opening your hip and hamstrings. Now, what will these stretches do? So number one, you need to have open shoulders if you want to lock out your arms. All right, so you want to have open shoulders. Number two, when it comes to distributing your body weight with handstands, the more flexible you are, the easier it is to distribute your weight. So for example, if I want to balance myself pretty easy with my legs open, the more open my legs are, the easier it is for me to shift my body weight. All right? And so if you're very, very inflexible, what you can use is a yoga strap. All right? So you can buy a yoga strap online, or you can buy it at one of your retail stores. If they don't have yoga straps, try looking up flexibility straps. All right? And so, as a cool down doesn't take long. So here's what we're gonna do. All right. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna start off by going opposite hand to elbow behind the back. All right. So we're gonna bring one arm across here, then we're gonna bring the other one to come here. And so the objective is to have both hands make contact with the elbows as best you can. All right. We're just going to hold it for about 20 seconds or so. All right. So we're going to release it there. Now moving on to another great shoulder opener, and all of these stretches I'm showing you is what I actually do. All right, so I'm not just like, all right, let me just think of some stuff. No, this is how I open my shoulders. All right. So the next step would be it's just a little something fun. So bring one hand here. You're gonna try to snuggle the other one up. All right, and you're gonna try to bring those hands together. So you'll notice that you'll feel a stretch in the forearm and wrist as well. All right. So this is a great shoulder opener, and it hits the wrist and forearms as well. All right. So maybe about 10 more seconds or so, and you'll find that every day you go through this routine, you start to open up a little bit more and more. All right. So now, what we're going to do is straddle the legs. So we talked about being able to distribute your weight with open legs. This is one of the stretches that you can do. So we'll open the legs here. All right. And we're going to just slowly come down. And then if you want to, maybe you make contact. So hand to foot. And you want to make sure you're breathing. Big inhale, big exhale, just like we talked about at the beginning of the DVD. All right. And so from here, what I want you to do is interlace the fingers. All right. So you want to interlace the fingers. You want to do that behind the back, and then you're going to hinge forward. So you're going to hinge forward, and then you're going to open up those shoulders. Alright? So if you find that that's too much, just stay where you are. You can use your strap. So maybe come about shoulder distance apart, and then just kind of hinge forward, and then open up that way. Just breathe deeply here. Alright? And slowly coming up. So we'll bring those feet together to kind of give the hip and hamstring a bit of a break. And now we want to go back to more shoulder opening. Alright? So here's the next one. Alright? So you're going to bring one hand behind the back. Alright? And then you're going to bring the opposite hand around the back. And then you'll make contact here. Alright? So if that's too much and you have your strap, here's what you're going to do. So the hand that's going to be on top, alright, you're going to flip it around this way. Alright? And so the bottom hand, and what you want to do is try to inch those fingers together. So maybe as far as you can go is here. Alright? So you just want to hold there, keep that back nice and straight, and just allow the shoulders to open up. So we'll go for maybe about 10 more seconds or so. Good, and release. So we'll do the same thing on the opposite side. So the last time I think I brought my right hand up, so now I'm going to do my left. So with the left, alright, so bring my right hand to the bottom, the left comes up, move my hoodie out the way, and then I make contact here. Alright, so again, if that's too much, you can use your strap. So you're going to swing it around. Alright, where is it? Alright, there it is. So then you just want to inch those fingers along. So maybe as far as you can go is there. And so what you'll find is, as the weeks go on, you open up a little bit more and more. Alright? And then eventually you'll probably be able to contact the fingers behind the back. And then that's when you know you may not need the strap anymore for that particular one. Alright? So now we're going to come down. Alright. So from here, what I want you to do is I want you to bring your left foot forward. So notice how I'm in line here. My hip and knee on the back leg are on one line. Alright. And so basically what I'm going to do is hinge forward. So I feel a nice stretch in my hamstring. So if that's too much, here, look, here's what I can do with my strap. So I can wrap it around here, and then I can inch my fingers along. So as the weeks go on, maybe I'll come further and further. Alright? And then you rest wherever you find comfort. Alright? So maybe we'll go 10 more seconds, and then we'll do the opposite side. Alright, so let's switch sides. So again, you want to keep that alignment here. Alright. Straighten that leg out. My hip and knee are on one line. For some reason I'm not balanced. Alright, I got it now. So again, if you don't use a strap, you don't need one, maybe you bring the hands here and then you just bow forward. Alright, so if you actually need the strap, you can wrap it around here and you can control how much you give. So maybe you inch the fingers along here. Alright. And then. and then wherever you find comfort. the balance today. We'll leave that in there. Alright, so we're going to release it here. Now, the last shoulder opener we're going to do is we're going to balance on the same side. So I guess I'll turn this way so you can see me better. So I'll start here in the tabletop. And what I'm going to do is bring my left hand, one hand distance over to the left. So I'm going to raise my right foot up, and I'm going to find some balance on that left side. And from here, I'm going to grab my right foot with the right hand, and I'm going to open up and square up here. Alright? So if that's too much, maybe you use your strap. Alright? So with your strap, you can make a loop here. Then you can bring your foot through. Yep, so bring your foot through here. And then you hold it here. And then again, as you get a little bit more open, you can inch those fingers up a little bit higher. Alright? You want to make sure you square off here. Alright? So we'll do the same thing on the opposite side. Alright, so tabletop, you're going to bring your right hand one hand distance over to the right, and a balance on the right side. So bringing that left foot up, you're going to square off here. And you want to make sure you're breathing. So at no point should you be holding your breath. Alright, and we'll slowly bring it down. And so the last stretch we'll do is a seated straddle stretch. Alright? So we want to just bring the legs to a comfortable position. Alright? So maybe you open them up a little bit. You just kind of relax here. And then maybe you bring both hands to both feet. And one thing I like about this stretch is you can give as much as you want. So for example, if I need more, then all I have to do is slide my legs back more. Alright, so if I need more than that, I can raise up and bring my hips forward. Alright, and then bring my hands here. Alright, and then maybe you can bring your head down, or maybe you bring the hands forward. Alright, so you can give as much as you want to give here. And as I stated before, you'll find that when you're doing these straddle stretches, your balance is going to become much better as far as maneuvering your weight. So remember, the more that you're able to open your legs, the more that you're able to distribute your weight evenly or to one side to maybe even one day balancing on one arm. Alright? And so this completes this portion of the DVD. Thank you.